Yeah, so finally the first round for the T20 World Cup 2022 has ended, and we have our four teams, which are Ireland, Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka, and Netherlands. Now, the last 2 days have seen a lot of things happening. Sri Lanka defeating Netherlands, that qualified them for the finals, even though that put in Netherlands into a spot of bother where they needed UAE to win the game against Namibia for the Netherlands to qualify. And Namibia and UAE happened to be one of the best games that the T20 World Cup has ever seen, with again the oscillating of the ball here and there. And today was the day of relatively more one-sided games. West Indies versus Ireland. Ireland wins it rather easily, and Zimbabwe beating Scotland by 5 wickets. So basically, Namibia and Scotland, who started the round really well with some unexpected victories, are going home rather early. What do you make of these two teams, Scotland, Namibia? What happened to them in the last games?
I don't think it's necessarily Scotland or Namibia doing something horribly wrong. It's just a sign that these teams are a lot closer in terms of quality, in terms of what they can do, than many would have given them credit for at the beginning. Scotland and Namibia beating Sri Lanka and West Indies isn't a sign that they're amazing super teams that should storm through the whole tournament, or that the Sri Lanka and the West Indies are terrible teams, or that these are amazing upsets that are once in a lifetime. It's just a sign that Scotland and Namibia are a lot closer to um, Sri Lanka and the West Indies than a lot of people gave them credit for. And Scotland and Namibia losing their next game shows that the other teams are also very close to the quality of Scotland and Namibia, and by extension, the quality of Sri Lanka and the West Indies. It's not that Sri Lanka and the West Indies are bad. It's that the other teams are all quite good. They're all here with a purpose, and they've been building up to this for a while. They're a lot better than many people probably expected, and I hope that people do take notice of that. That the teams that you may not think about that much, they are actually quite good, and they're getting better in the shadows.
Yep, and the thing with the teams like Scotland or Namibia is that we have seen them pretty consistently in the recent times. I mean, the last World Cup was hardly a year ago, and we saw how well they did back then. I think Scotland beat Bangladesh to qualify, while Namibia beat Ireland, who, even though they might not look, for a casual fan, they might not look like a strong team, but Ireland is a really strong team. They have got some really good batters, and as they showed today, the bowling is equally strong. So it was actually a pretty big thing for Namibia to beat Ireland and qualify. And the sad thing is they kind of missed out on the consistency part. I mean, Namibia would probably rue how bad they batted against Netherlands, which was just one of those forgettable games, especially for someone like Freiling, who was literally the hero one game ago. And then the game against UAE, I guess, as we have used the word sensibility so many times, they pretty much were batting whatever is the opposite of sensible. That was just rash, and they were just, you know, pretty much under pressure from the word go. And once you are 67 for 7, then only a miracle can win you the game. And Visa almost caused that miracle, but ultimately you cannot really blame him for going for his shots at the end, because he had to do it. He had no other way, and sadly it did not come off.
Yeah, it's a disappointing result for Namibia, especially against the UAE. And we talked about the UAE last time. They're a better team than what they'd shown in the previous two games, and they did show against Namibia what they're capable of. Um, and yeah, it's a valuable experience for the UAE's players. Again, most of them were not around when the UAE last played a World Cup, which was 2015 ODI World Cup. And yeah, they have a really strong young core. They will get better. They will be a lot better when they're here next time in 2024. But yeah, leaving this World Cup with a win is it's pretty big for them. It's the first match they've ever won at any World Cup. They lost every game at 96. They lost every game in the 2014 T20 World Cup. They lost every game in 2015. And yeah, they got their first ever win now this time. So yeah, it's only going to be up from here. And yeah, they'll keep getting better. I expect them to be back soon. They'll be better in 2024. And yeah, I'm just going to keep repeating myself if I keep talking. But yeah, it's a great win for the UAE. Disappointing result for Namibia. And again, like it's not that Namibia are bad because they lost to the UAE who lost to Sri Lanka. It's that these teams are a lot closer together, right? Like there are no questions asked about India's quality if they get bowled out for 76th in some game, right? It happens sometimes, and that's what happened with the UAE last game. It's not that they're a bad team against a team that they're outmatched against. It's just that they had a bad game, and they showed against the Netherlands, they showed against Namibia that they are at the quality of the other teams here, and yeah, it's not embarrassing for Namibia to lose this game. It's disappointing for them for sure because winning this would have seen them through, but it's a result that happens. It was always a result that was on the cards against a team that you're not against a team that's on your level. And yeah, for the UE, for Namibia, they both pick themselves up from here and focus all their efforts on the qualification for the 2023 World Cup qualifiers first, and then from there the World Cup itself. And yeah, the interesting thing about the UAE and Namibia is that they are playing each other pretty much for that final spot for the World Cup qualifier. They are both neck and neck in League Two, and they have two direct head-to-head games against each other as well on the way. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see after this. It could be the start of some sort of rivalry.
And since you talk about that Namibia UAE game, I think I can bring on the old point of how cricket is actually not a game of correlations. I mean, Pakistan has lost to Zimbabwe and they have defeated teams like Australia and England as well. So it doesn't, you cannot relate to those two instances in any case. Just like, with Namibia, you see them defeating Sri Lanka but losing to UAE. These are not something that you connect or compare. It is ultimately the fact that UAE played better on their day, while Namibia were better against Sri Lanka, and that is how the game goes. I mean, we saw that today as well. I mean, West Indies lost to Ireland. Ireland, obviously, it is a really great team, as we have talked about, and it has shown how good they are when everything comes off really well. But again, you can, just because West Indies has lost to Ireland, who have lost to relatively lower teams, doesn't make them that bad. It is just that West Indies were really lacking self-awareness from what I saw, because you know we all of us knew the boundaries are going to be long. In straight, there are relatively shorter boundaries on either side of the ground, but they tried to target the wrong boundaries and ended up succumbing to first the Scotland bowling and then Irish bowling. That was actually really on the money. And with that, I bring a point. What do you make of this Irish bowling? Because even though they went for some runs in the first two games, they actually brought it up really well in this one.
Yeah, the Irish bowlers, they're a little inconsistent at times, but when they're on song, they are very good. Yeah, like they have, like they're starting to get some decent variety in bowlers. Little is a very good left arm seamer. Adair is a very good right arm seamer, a little on the slower side, and Delaney is a little quicker. And yeah, some of the other guys in reserve, McCarthy as well is a little quicker. There's David Delaney as well, who's also quite quick, but he didn't make the World Cup squad. Yeah, they're starting to get some more variety in their bowling attack, and yeah, like their fast bowlers are serviceable. There's room for improvement, but they're definitely a solid core to build around. Spin bowling's still a little weak, but they can work on it. And yeah, it's just like they're Ireland as a whole is a little inconsistent. Their best bowlers are very good when they're good, very pedestrian when they're not. It's the same with their batting. Sterling showed up today against Scotland against the West Indies, but he had quite a poor tournament before this, and he had quite a poor tournament in 2021 as well. Balburney was made the captain off the back of being very good for a sustained period of time, but since he became the captain, his form has dipped quite dramatically. So yeah, again, like those are Ireland's two most important batters, you'd say, and yeah, there's still there's still a lot of kinks to work out, a lot of inconsistency to iron out, and they will get there. They're a team that will continue to get better, and yeah, they've made the T20 World Cup main round for the first time since the format was changed in 2014. I think it's the first time they made it out of the first group stage since 2009. Back when the T20 World Cup had group stage, the first group stage and the second group stage.
Yep.
And yeah, this is the furthest they made it since 2009. So they'll continue to get. What am I saying? They're getting better. They will get better. T20s have long been Ireland's worst format. But yeah, if they can just get a little bit better, then you'll see a lot of progress real quick.
And lastly, that brings us to Zimbabwe. But my question regarding them is actually a little more stretched in. Now that we know Zimbabwe and Netherlands would be in the Group B with India, South Africa, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, while Sri Lanka and Ireland go to the Group A with Australia, New Zealand, Afghanistan, and England. What are your expectations from, have they changed a little bit, or what are we expecting from these four teams in their respective groups?
So these four obviously come in as the weakest teams in their groups. Making the semifinals would be extraordinary. But yeah, I think they're here to compete. They're here to win some games. They're not going to be expecting too much, but they're not here to surrender matches. They'll fight as much as they can. It's not going to be just like making the main round is the success in and of itself for them. They're not going to be too concerned about what happens from now unless they get destroyed in every game. But yeah, like they will be, they'll be hoping to win some games. It's not going to be the end of the world if they don't.
Okay, so that is that